Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Tier 2 action here in Japan for our 11th round out of 12. So, this is our penultimate race, and we are looking forward to seeing how these guys do. We do have 14 drivers currently. I believe it'll be 15 with more on one joining in as well. I'll just keep an eye on the Discord chat in case he messages me. Alrighty, but yep, as I mentioned, we are here in Japan. Looking forward to seeing how this race goes. I do see we have Kyle, our our championship leader at the moment in the live chat. Unfortunately, not feeling well, so we do hope he feels better. And giving Kovacs a little bit of a camera time. Maybe not in the best moment there, but let's take a look at who else is behind him. Alrighty, but anyways, as I was saying, it does look mighty cloudy. Um, but it does look like our weatherman Guardians mentioning there is a chance of actually no, it's Turbo mentioning there is 18% chance of rain. So we'll have to look at how that goes for the actual race. But anyways, at the top of the driver standings, we do have, as I mentioned, Kyle sitting with a lead, has a total of 265 points. Uh, with him absent today, we actually have El Capitan and Garen Vitek right behind him. So that does leave the door wide open for those two. El Capitan, 243 points. Garen Vitek, 231 points. If you want to take a look at those standings, you can actually check out our Instagram post. All the standings are posted on that on our social. But yeah, these two having a really good golden opportunity to close the gap and most likely keep the final race uh, intense, keep us on our toes. And meanwhile, we do have the Constructors Championship that has actually just gotten shaken up. Red Bull team of Garen Vitek and High RPM overtaking the McLaren team. So the Red Bull now leading with 383 points. McLaren only 8 points behind. So it is going to be a interesting final round. We do have El Capitan, who unfortunately has been carrying the team these past couple weeks, running solo. But luckily, he does have a new teammate today. Actually, starting today. Unfortunately, not here today, but that is Buddha having been promoted for the McLaren team. Uh, chose to switch over the view of the track to a view of the football team of the Raiders. So we hope he has a really good time watching that in person. But anyways, he did mention he is going to give it his all on the final race. But we do have a few drivers already crossing the line. Broom putting currently the fastest lap of 130.9. He is on the mediums, so probably just testing out the track. Honeyburger about to cross the line puts in a 129.7. Looks like we do have quite a few drivers behind as well. Do want to keep an eye on Garen Vitek. Ooh, a little bit, as I say that, a little bit of a wiggle coming out of the exit right there, but still manages to put in a fast time of 128.5. So I'm assuming there's plenty of room for improvement for him. And taking a look at his teammate, of High RPM, who does an amazing job to wake up at the crack of butt and still show up for all the races. I don't think I've ever asked him exactly what time the races are for him. I know he's in Abu Dhabi, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, yep, Japan is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, 26 laps, 27 laps. Completely forgotten. Even though I hosted Tier One. Uh, just take a quick look at that actually. Oh, 27 laps. Okay, so it is 27 laps. El Capitan, 128.5. So right there with Garen Vitek. High RPM, right behind his teammate. So I have a feeling this is going to be a really close qualifying session. But for those who are watching for the first time, as I was saying, it is going to be a 50% race after this short qualifying session. So these drivers are going to be going around the track for 27 laps. So 18 corners, 10 to the left, 8 to the right. Was kind of hoping for a little bit of rain, but of course, I never get what I want when it comes to these track conditions. And I actually do want to give a shout out to our reserve driver today, to Brad, aka on the Discord chat. I believe his name is also Turbo. Uh, so we have two turbos now officially in our in our Discord. But it is his first race with us, and we're looking forward to seeing how he does. And so Hulkenbro crossing the line puts in a 131.2. It looks like we do have a few drivers who are going back into the pits as El Capitan joining back in. Going back to Pine. Pine, who hasn't been here for a couple of races, having to back out this season. Always nice to have him back onto the track. He is a phenomenal driver, so glad to have him here and hopefully see him more often in the next season. Let's see, we do have Pine, who has put in a purple second sector for his time. Of course, he hasn't put in an actual lap yet. He is on the mediums, but curious to see what he's able to put in, and still manages to put himself in the top 10, 130.4. And so we do have the Kick Sauber of Brad and the Williams of Oliver, who have just started their lap time. So it looks like Oliver's up ahead in Sector 1. And I was looking at my Discord chat, but actually more on one I was actually able to join back into join into the session. Let's see, Oliver, a little bit of traffic up ahead. However, the Ferrari doing a really good job to get out the way. So not an easy track, I will say, especially for those who are learning with no traction control. So Brad actually signed up today and did mention that he does race with traction control. However, he was willing to adapt. And considering I haven't seen him spin yet, actually doing a really good job to adapt, I guess. But Oliver going around the final corner and puts in a 129.1, puts him in the top 5 at the moment, looking right behind him at Brad. Ooh, Brad struggling a little bit right there with the traction, however, is still going to be able to cross the line, puts in a 137.1. So considering the fact that he's, of course, still learning with the no traction control, it's highly commendable. And Honey Burger touching. So this is where I say with the track, this track is quite tricky, especially Sector 1. If you touch those curves just a little bit, it is going to be sending your car sideways. So just like how we saw with Honey Burger, very unfortunate for him. But looking at the front group of drivers, Garen Vitek just starting his. Actually, he might actually be on a banker lap. Actually, no, we'll keep an eye on him. Looks like he has started his lap. He's up by a 1,000th on his time, but plenty of track to still improve on it. Looks like El Capitan has actually started his as well, but keeping an eye on Garen Vitek, who will be soon finishing up in Sector 2, going a little bit wide right there, and unfortunately invalidating. And onto the gravel he goes, keeping an eye on El Capitan, who does look like has improved as well. So let's see if he does the same thing Garen Vitek did. And no, Capitan keeping it nice and tight within the lines, and now just ramping up Sector 2. And is actually up on his time, so it looks like he will be he'll still be holding that provisional pole. So El Capitan crossing the line puts it in a 128.2. So yeah, it looks like Garen Vitek has a little bit of work to do here. But looking at Garen Vitek's teammate, high RPM here. It looks like we do have quite a couple of drivers who are on their outlap, so we'll be keeping an eye on them as well. The high RPM going around the final corner, plenty of batteries to still use, and is going to improve a 120.2, very close to El Capitan, and moving his teammate down a position as well. We do have more on one who is currently holding fourth, who has just started his lap as well. Actually has just finished his lap, it seems. I think he actually just finished his, but it looks like we do have Kovacs who has just started his. Does have the Kicksauber of Pine right behind him who has just started as well. So it does look like the two Red Bulls are in a really good position for the race. As I mentioned, the constructor is looking really tight. Both of them hunting down the McLaren of El Capitan, so definitely a lot of opportunity to really capitalize and try securing that constructors championship. We have a few cars who have invalidated Honeyberger in the Ferrari for today. Looking to start his lap, hopefully able to stay away from the curves, as that is what caused him to spin a couple minutes ago. And looks like Pine, even even in even on the mediums, able to really put in a really good time. A 129.2, putting him in 6th at the moment. And it looks like Garen Vitek was on a banker lap, so now setting his time. And it does seem like Honeyberger has improved on his. Is he going to be able to surpass his teammate in the starting grid? A little bit of a taking a little bit too much of the curve right there, but still keeping the car straight. Unfortunately, not able to. Looks like that may have cost him a bit of time. Not able to do anything there. But looking back at Garen Vitek, so Garen Vitek actually up a 10th on his time. However, he still needs a bit more to get past his teammate here. So Garen Vitek crossing the line puts in a 127.9. Look at that. So caught quite a lot of time there on the final corners. So 127.9 for Garen Vitek. Garen Vitek holding provisional pole at the moment. El Capitan, high RPM, and more on one. The three of them actually on their out lap. And it does look like Oliver is on his lap as well. Has a bit of traffic up ahead. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that is the Mercedes of... That should be Turbo. Actually, no, it looks like that is Guardians. Actually, no, that is Turbo, who I think is actually on his hot lap as well. Actually, no, it doesn't look like he was, considering he still has plenty of battery to use. I wonder if that gave Oliver a little bit of a slipstream. But Oliver looks like he has improved and does improve up 4/10. So that pushes him up to 4th at the moment. Alrighty, we do have the Red Bull of high RPM who is still trying to find some improvement. And the McLaren of El Capitan crossing the line to start his as well, so we'll be keeping an eye on these two. Still plenty of time in the qualifying session. And no, it looks like high RPM has backed out of that lap, considering he's quite far down. But looking back at El Capitan, so up 500ths. So we do have 3 minutes left in the qualifying session, and will El Capitan look to improve? Looks like we do have quite a few yellow flags on the on the track. I think that is possibly the Alpine of Angel in Sector 3 and the Kicksauer of Brad in Sector 1. But keeping an eye on El Capitan, trying to use up all that battery, is up 3/10. And I have a feeling this might be enough to get past Garen Vitek to get that pole position. Has to be super conscious on these last couple corners here. Keeps the car straight. Still enough battery and crosses the line. A 127.9. So both of them a 127.9. Unfortunately, not enough to get past Garen Vitek. We do have Mahasne and looks like Angel has backed out. Kovacs does improve by 7/10 it seems. He's able to keep that 9th position. Actually, no, Mahasne coming out of nowhere and puts himself in 3rd. So that pushes his brother down to 4th. And looks like that is going to be our starting grid. Angel looking to go back into the pits, taking a little bit of the grass. So it looks like we're just going to be waiting for his car to go back in. And a super close qualifying session between these two, Garen Vitek and El Capitan. Mahasne coming out of left field, putting himself in 3rd. So as we wait for those, I'll just give them a brief reminder of the rules. Alrighty, so going through our final, or our starting grid, we have Garen Vitek starting on pole position. Right next to him in the front row, we have El Capitan. Both of them 2nd and 3rd in the driver's standing. So how will this turn out? From third all the way to the end, we have Mahaze, High RPM, Oliver Monster, Moron 1, Guardians, Vroom, Pine, Kovacs, Honeyburger, Hulkenbrol, Brad, Angel, and Turbo. So these are going to be our 15 drivers starting in Japan for round 11, penultimate race before our season ends. And honestly, it has been a really good season. Looking forward to a lot of these drivers hopefully coming back. We shall see. But yeah, no, we do enjoy it, and I'm also looking forward to the break. But anyways, it is looking quite cloudy. I think Turbo mentioned 18% chance of rain, so I am curious to see if that is going to be just cloudy throughout the whole race, or if it's going to have a little bit of a drizzle later on in the race. But anyways, put all this up for now. But still, I will say the Red Bulls still putting themselves in a really good position here. For those who are watching that are new, we do have a 3 to 5 minute break between the qualifying session and our race, uh, just to make sure all the drivers have enough time to really put in their strategies, fix up any or tweak up anything on their setup. Park firm is off, and if they want to adjust any fuel, I know some of them like to toy around with it, and yeah, honestly, best of luck to all these drivers. I did mention on the Discord chat, I hope to not, I didn't have to emphasize how much to be careful on the first lap, especially in Sector 1. It is going to be quite a narrow, uh, it is a very narrow track. And honestly, just keep away from the grass. Please, for the love of God. Don't even graze it. But after this, they do have a formation lap right before the start, just to make sure these drivers are able to warm up their tires, prepare for it, get them ready up. I'm kind of hoping one of the, well, we've already, this is our second race. I'm kind of hoping one of the other two races are going to be rain. Uh, I know lots of them they don't like it. However, does keep it quite entertaining for me as well. Alrighty, so they do have the ready up and Moron one saying to call him a cow. Was it call me a cow the way? Call him a cow for the way he's grazing the grass. I do like that actually. You're either a cow or you're a lawnmower. It's one of those two. So if I see you on the grass, yes, you're one of them. But anyways, we do hear the timer going down. They will be setting off for a few to start off that formation lap. Let's get all these tire informations up. Alrighty, so it looks like a grand majority of them have started on the medium tires. We only have 3 drivers in the back who have started on the hard compounds. That is Honeyburger, Hulkenbro, and Turbo. And only one driver on the soft tires. That is Vroom. I do wonder what his game plan is for this race. Looks like top 7 have started on the mediums. And honestly, will El Capitan be able to get past Garen Vitek before the corner? I mean, side by side into turn 1, it's quite a tricky part of the track, uh, especially if you're trying to go on the inside line. But we have always seen good racing here, and I don't expect anything less from these drivers. But if I'm not mistaken, tier 1 actually had a safety car come out in the second lap. So there's plenty of runoff on this track. However, there is a very high possibility of safety cars coming out. It is we do only have 15 drivers on the grid. However, you never know; anything could happen, especially for those who are are still learning, or as I mentioned, touch the grass. Anyways, we do have our drivers going around the sector 3, looking to line up back onto the grid. So we did see quite a number of drivers from Tier 1 take the mediums to between lap 11 and I think highest was lap 15, if I'm not mistaken. The hards taking them to, I guess, 17 laps around there. Would probably run it well too. But anyways, looks like we are just waiting for the final drivers to line up to the grid. So I might keep an eye on high RPM. A few drivers not able to park. Alrighty. Whew, scared me a little bit for the glitch. But anyways, 4 lights, 5 lights, and off they go. And can El Capitan get the advantage here? Garen Vitek a little bit wiggly right there on the start. However, looks like we do have a bit of movement happening in the back as well. Oliver Monster going on the outside, actually, it looks like. And is able to go get past Moron 1. Looks like we do have yellow flags. I believe that is the kick Sauber of Pine. Looks like all the drivers in file. Oh, single file formation. A little bit of contact between Hulkenbro and it looks like that was a Ferrari of Honeyberger. Now Hulkenbro with Turbo right behind them. Those hard compounds are going to take a couple of laps. Oh, that is the Ferrari of Honeyberger who just went straight into the gravel. My goodness. But a little bit of a bumpity bump between some of these drivers, Turbo and Hulkenbro. Brad getting past, and looks like Pine getting past as well. So let's take a look at any position changes. So we did have Kovacs who gained a few positions there, 3 positions at the race start. And even after a couple of bumps, looks like the grid is still quite close together. We do have a little bit of a gap from 10th to 15th. Looks like Eingel getting past the Mercedes of Turbo. And so Garen Vitek doing a really good job to stay ahead. Top 4 drivers are still with less than a second behind of each other. So they will be having a DRS enabled on this lap. Looks like Broom closing in on the back of Kovacs. So again, we do have Vroom who is on the soft tires. So he definitely does have the grip. However, those tires are going to be dying out soon, or much quicker than the others. So Pine trying to look for a gap to get past Hulkenbro. And looks like up ahead, Mahasne and Oliver Monster. So it looks like the El Capitan has extended a gap of 1.6 seconds ahead of high RPM. A little bit of a train between 4th to 6th. So El Capitan is close enough to get the DRS on this next upcoming straight. Is he going to try making a move, or is he just going to try having Garen Vitek pull him away from the rest of the grid? It looks like he's not going to be close enough to make any movement yet, but Mahasne closing in on high RPM. And it looks like we do have our first round of penalties. So Eingel picking up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Although I realized that this game has been quite iffy when it comes to these penalties. So always, if you're unsure about it, of course, make sure you record your race director at the end of the race, and the appeal stewards will look into it. Anyways, the top runners still keeping it quite close to each other. Oliver trying to make a move on Mahasne, getting super close to the rear. And oh, looks like that is the Alpine of Eingel who has unfortunately spun in sector, I believe that is sector 2. And that has brought out yellow flags, however, I think he's still keeping the car on the track. And it looks like it's going to be really close between High RPM, Mahasna, and Oliver Monster. Mahasna does have the DRS from High RPM, so it is going to help him defend against Oliver. But Mahasna actually going for the move on High RPM, going on the inside, and manages to get the move done. So Oliver Monster kind of just enjoying the sight, I guess, but we do have Brad, who has gone into the pits. And Eingel picking up a 10-second penalty for corner cutting. So that is going to be 13 seconds for him. And it does seem like Moron 1 was backing out a little bit from, in terms of delta from Oliver Monster, but still keeping it now close. Actually, he's kind of threading the, the needle a little bit. So delta is just going up and down. But anyways, looking up ahead, El Capitan still remaining close ahead, right behind of Garen Vitek. And it does seem like Kovacs possibly looking for a move on Guardians. No, looks like he's going to back out of that. El Capitan not close enough yet to make any move. Neither does Oliver Monster. And Kovacs looking to make the move and does get the move done. Passes Guardians. And so Kovacs moving himself up to P8. And looking back, actually it looks like Guardians might be looking to battle that out. I don't know why the the EA broadcasting would give me the wing view. My God, the Sector 1 is the perfect place to find the helicopter view. I've seen it in the other game. I've been trying to get it. Doesn't give it to me, but yeah, we'll make do. But anyways, Kovacs moving himself up to P8, up 2 positions. Turbo up 2 positions as well. Top 6 have not moved at all. And it does seem like Garen Vitek is pushing El Capitan out, and is now over a second ahead of El Capitan. Oliver Monster looking to make the move on the inside here on high RPM, and Kenny, I think that was a little bit of contact, but Oliver Monster staying right ahead of high RPM. I wonder if that was a good move, considering high RPM is going to get the DRS here. So he may have made the move a bit too soon, and so high RPM is going to make the overtake nice and easily with the help of the DRS. Looks like up behind Guardians, getting the move done on Kovacs as well. So the grand majority of our overtakes, I think, we're going to be seeing it there in tier 1 in sector 1, right heading into turn 1. And it does seem like that is yellow flags. I think that may have been the Actually, I can't even tell who it was. But anyways, Rome still doing well to keep it in P7 at the moment, even with the 5-lap-old softs. Does have quite a comfortable gap ahead of Guardians, 3.8 seconds ahead. And looks like El Capitan has picked up the pace a bit, still remaining less than a second behind of Garen Vitek. And so, as I mentioned, El Capitan is second in the driver standings, Garen Vitek third. So these points definitely going to make a difference in the championship and keep it quite intense for the final race, which is going to be next week in Abu Dhabi. Oliver Monster getting the move done on higher PM, putting himself in fourth at the moment. They do have Mahaznet right ahead of them. And it does look like that is the Kicksauber of Brad. I don't think the soft tires are the best tires to be, really, but Pine actually getting the move done on Kovacs. So 20 laps remaining, including this one. Feels like it's going to be quite a long race. But looks like our two closest deltas, we have El Capitan right behind Garen Vitek, higher PM right behind of Oliver Monster. Does look like that is yellow flags, and that is the Alpine of Eingel. And both Garen Vitek and El Capitan doing really well to manage their ERS, I will say that. So both El Capitan and higher PM staying behind the drivers ahead of them. No movement yet. However, Pine might be looking to get the move done and is going to get past the Mercedes of Guardians. So putting himself in 7th now. It looks like Vroom has opted to pit, finally getting rid of the soft tires. And Pine with a really good pace, extending the gap already 1.2 seconds ahead of Guardians. And I do wonder how those tires are feeling for both these drivers. Both of them doing really well to extend that gap ahead of third. So El Capitan, 3.4 seconds ahead of Mahaznet. I do think the battle is mainly going to be between, actually, yeah, for the whole podium, between El Capitan and Garen Vitek. And we do have Mahaznet with Oliver Monster and high RPM right behind him. And so the Red Bull of higher PM getting past the Williams of Oliver Monster. As I mentioned, the Red Bulls are leading the Constructors' Championship. El Capitan in the McLaren second, waiting on his teammate to show up next week. So higher PM and Garen Vitek in a really good position to really capitalize and extend that gap to win their first ERA Constructors. Alrighty, so it does look like Higher PM has backed out a little bit. Mahazna picking up the pace. Actually, it looks like Mahazna is still going to have Higher PM right there on the DRS. El Capitan is going to get the DRS, however, still not close enough to make any move yet. And I was wondering what just happened right there. So Guardian's having quite a bit of a spin going into the pits. I wonder if that was intentional or accidental. Oh no, Guardian's picking up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And I do wonder if he picked up any damage. No, it looks like his wing is still intact. But you know what? Head down. You never know if anything can happen. Safety car might come out. You'll be able to serve that 10-second penalty. But anyways, looking at the penalties, Guardians with 10 seconds, as we just mentioned. Nightingale with 13 seconds of penalties. All the drivers doing really well to keep the car within the white lines. And I hope I just didn't jinx everybody. But looking at the position changes, Pine and Kovac still up 2 positions. Hulkenbro up 3 positions. Top 6 have still yet to move. However, we do have El Capitan still within the DRS of Garen Vitek. Still looking like he's not close enough to make any move yet. Although he is inching closer and closer, I will say, lap after lap. And, oh, maybe maybe a little bit too close. And so El Capitan giving Garen Vitek a little bit of a, hey buddy, I'm right here. Yeah, but let's see, I don't think that had given... Yeah, looks like he didn't receive any damage there. It looks like up behind between Mahazne, Higher PM, and Oliver Monster. Still no changes yet. We do have Pine, who has just entered the pits. Looks like he's going to be going for the 2-stopper, opting for the soft compounds now. So El Capitan doing really well to still remain super close behind of Garen Vitek. I do wonder who's going to pull the trigger, and as I say that, Garen Vitek pulling the trigger and going into the pits. And so El Capitan is going to have the clean air, and will he be able to avoid that undercut probably from Garen Vitek? But Mahazne going right behind Higher PM, still not able to make a move. Looks like both of them keeping Oliver Monster right out of the actually no, Oliver Monster doing well to regain that delta back. Let's see, we do have the Ferrari of Room. And it looks like Hulkenberg trying to defend that position, however, not able to there. So Room is going to push up to P8. They do have Pine, who is closing right behind them, does have that fresh set of softs. So Pine having to be really careful behind of Hulkenberg, who's on the old 11-lap-old hards. It looks like El Capitan has chosen to pit up ahead. And Hulkenberg going a little bit wide right there. Pine is going to have the much better traction here. But is he going to make a move? He does have the next upcoming DRS straight. So he's going to stay right behind of the Aston Martin, not yet making the move. Garen Vitek is going to come out ahead of El Capitan, who's just exiting out the pits now. And so Pine, with a really good exit with those soft tires, able to make the move done on Hulkenberg. And looking up ahead, we do have our top 3 drivers at the moment, still with 12 lap-old mediums. Garen Vitek and El Capitan, who have just pit. And Alex asking who ran the softs first. So that was actually Vroom, who was the only driver who opted for starting on the soft tires. And if I'm not mistaken, pit lap 7 or 8. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. But anyways, looking up ahead, higher PM, less than a second behind of Mahazne. It looks like both of them are going to go into the pits. The 3 of them are. And, ooh, Oliver Monster almost going sideways right there. So Garen Vitek now crossing all the drivers in the pits. And doing a really good job to extend that gap ahead of El Capitan. El Capitan 2.5 seconds behind of Garen Vitek now. So it looks like the undercut really worked for Garen Vitek. That is a yellow flags for the kick sour Brad, who is honestly determination. I know he said he was adapting to the no traction control, doing a really good job to keep the car on the track and keep it away from the walls. Still keeping himself in 14th at the moment. I think that was a penalty for Honeyberger, who was just entering the pits. Picks up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And it looks like we do have our first retirement. That is going to be Guardians in the Mercedes retiring in the pit lane. So a little bit of practice, I think, for him in preparation for Division 2 No Sense on Wednesday night. For those who haven't checked the rest of our YouTube channel. But let's see, the top 2 doing a really phenomenal job to extend the gap ahead of Mahazne. So first and second, looking like, ooh, Moron 1 picking up a 3-second penalty there. First and second doing a really good job to keep their positions. Mahazne still has higher PM and Oliver Monster right behind them. The 3 of them all on equal tires, so it's just a matter on who is able to keep it consistent till the end of the race. So any slight mistake is going to cost you, and even with the penalties, I mean, Moron 1 with 3-second penalty, he does have Pine closing in right behind them. And Honeyberger now picking up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Higher PM looking to make the move on Mahazne, choosing to back out here, which honestly is a really good choice. However, he does now have Oliver Monster right on his tail. I think that was a yellow flags in Sector 2, if I'm not mistaken. That might have been from Eingel. But higher PM really closing in on Mahazne here. He is going to get the DRS, and I think he has a really good exit here. Oh, cutting the corner a bit. I do wonder if that was a warning for corner cutting for track limits. But anyways, higher PM getting the move done on Mahasnet. Oliver Monster still not close enough to make any attack yet. And up ahead, we do have Garen Vitek, who's doing a really amazing job to continue growing that gap ahead of El Capitan. 3.1 seconds now ahead of him. So possibly looking for his third win in a row. So Garen Vitek coming out of nowhere this season. And I know if I'm not mistaken, he was learning no traction control as well. Doing a really good job to adapt, and now look at him fighting for podiums and getting wins. But anyways, Oliver Monster right behind of Mahasnet. Higher PM now extending the gap 1.4 seconds ahead of Mahasnet, so possibly securing, if he could keep it consistent, and if he keeps it consistent, possibly a third place on the podium. And we do have Garen Vitek, who has put in the fastest lap of 131.1, and that would be an additional 2 points for him if he's able to secure at the end. But anyways, Oliver Monster closing in right on the back of the Haas. Looks like he's able to make the overtake nice and easily. Higher PM still remaining ahead. And we do have the Kicksauer of Pine. Looks like choosing to retire in the pits. I think the strategy may have not really worked for him. But of course, always good to have him on our races. Has been a while. It looks like we do have Oliver Monster, who is closing in on higher PM, bringing Mahasnet along with him as well. Oh no, Pine. Pine mentioning he has some family stuff to deal with. So yeah, no, we appreciate you still being able to join in. Hopefully we can see you again next race or next season. But anyways, looking at these three, higher PM, Oliver, and Mahasnet, the three of them really keeping the entertainment in this race. So Mahasnet draining that battery. Oliver Monster trying to look for an opening to get the move done on higher PM. Higher PM defending well, and looks like that is yellow flags. I believe that is the Ferrari of Honeyberger, who's dropping down a couple positions there. And looking at the position changes, we do have Turbo up 4 positions. And looks like Kovacs up 3 positions as Vroom has just opted to pit now. So Vroom, who was on 10 lap old mediums, now choosing for a fresh set of mediums. And Oliver Monster going a tad bit wide right there, and is this going to give Mahasnet the opportunity to get the overtake done? Doesn't really have the battery to really make the attack. However, the three of them, Jesus Christ, can't even separate them. That's how close they are to each other. But Mahasnet is, actually no, Oliver Monster is going to be having the flap open, does have the battery, does have the DRS, looking to make the move on the outside. And man, contact between higher PM and Oliver Monster, and that is going to drop higher PM a couple positions there. I do wonder if he picked up damage. I won't say nothing, but higher PM, I know you're already used to reporting or using the ticket tool. So yeah, any driver to all the drivers, if you have any questions regarding an incident, just just set it in for the stewards to look at, and they will handle the rest. But anyways, looks like this has closed down the battle to just Oliver Monster and Mahazne. Higher PM, he does have more on one right in front of him. Does more on one does have the 7-lap old medium higher PM on the hard compound, so there's still a chance for higher PM to secure a top 5 finish with more on one still with those 3-second penalty. But a little bit of a lockup on the rears for Mahazne right there, trying to catch up to Oliver Monster. So it looks like we do only have 3 drivers with penalties, as Moran one with 3 seconds, Honeyburger and Eingel, both of them with 13 seconds of penalties. And it seems like our only gap at the moment is between Mahazne and Oliver Monster. El Capitan, still within the fight. Gareth Vitek doing a really amazing job today to keep it consistent and really stamp his place in this group. But extending the gap to 4 seconds ahead of El Capitan, looking for some really good points in the championship here. And that might have been yellow flags. Looks like that was, again, Eingel. And it looks like Higher PM has closed, or is closing the gap behind of Moron 1, 2.5 seconds behind him. So now within those 3 seconds of penalties, few laps left. So 6 laps remaining, including this one. Mahazne, right behind of Oliver Monster, does have the DRS and is trying to use a bit of battery, and looks like he is going to get the move done. Gets ahead of Oliver Monster and moves himself up to P3 at the moment. Turbo picking up a 3-second penalty now, joining the penalty party. And it does look like we have the Ferrari of Honeyburger, who has, or is coming out of the pit lane. So opting for a fresh set of mediums. And let's look at the position changes again. Turbo still up with the highest position changes, at 4 positions. Kovacs and Hulkenbro up 3 positions. And that might have actually just been the Mercedes of Turbo, who had a little bit of a wheel spin there, but still keeping his car intact and in, or on the track. Ooh, going a little bit wide right there. Let me keep the camera away from me, yeah? Not make you look bad. So 6 laps remaining, including this one. Oliver Monster still remaining right behind Mahazne. Garen Vitek still leading the race, has been leading the grand majority of this race. And looks like we do have Higher PM, who is closing in on Moron 1. As I mentioned, he was going to have the better tire advantage with the 8-lap old hard compounds. Moron 1 having to deal with the 10 lap old medium, so higher PM with much better grip here. Or some of a better grip, a little bit of a wiggle there on the exit. But now less than a second behind Omura 1, and it looks like Mahasne has pushed out Oliver Monster from the DRS, so Oliver Monster now 1.2 seconds behind Mahasne. And we do have high RPM closing in on the V-Carb. Can he make the move here on the next upcoming DRS straight? Oh no, Brad picking up a 10-second penalty. Moron 1 now going into the pit lane. And so that is going to allow higher PM to secure a P5 at the moment, as he does have quite a comfortable gap from the drivers behind. Looks like Moron 1 looking for the soft tires. I do want to take a quick look at who still holds the fastest lap. So it's still Garen Vitek who holds the fastest lap at 131.1. Moron 1, I do wonder if he's going to be able to try going for that fastest lap. Does have a 131.9. I believe that was on the mediums. And it looks like I do see our good friend Mini Tony in live chat asking, saying he just tuned in and is wondering what he missed. Has been an interesting race, I will say that. Garen Vitek doing a really phenomenal job to stay ahead. El Capitan looks like he may be securing a second place finish here. Mahasne fighting for that third place between him and Oliver Monster. It looks like majority of the deltas have grown. And ooh, that looks like that is yellow flags. However, I believe that's the kick Sauber of Brad in sector 3. And both Brad and Eingel doing a really good job to really try finishing this race. It's not easy, especially when you're learning no traction control, but these two really adamant on finishing and making sure their car crosses the line. But we are on the closing laps of this race. And while we look at El Capitan, I do want to take a quick look at how the championship standings are going to turn out with this, if it finishes like this. Especially since all the gaps are extended. Well, let's see. As we mentioned, Kyle TV, who unfortunately is not feeling well and unable to join in today, is leading the standings at 265 points. If Garen Vitek is able to win today, and with the fastest lap, he will be 5 points ahead of Kyle, and that would be with 270 points. So that would push Kyle down a position. And El Capitan, who currently has 243 points, if he finishes in third, actually, looks like it would be tied between El Capitan and Garen Vitek, both of them with 270 points. Since it is the 2 extra points for the fastest lap. So if Or actually, no, I may be mistaken. Oh, actually, no. Sorry, I was counting if El Capitan had finished it in third. If he finishes in second, that is 273 points. So it would be Gary Vitek with 275 points or 270 points. Ah, see, I already got my math. I should type this down. Ay, ay, ay. It's too late for this. It's 2:41 for me. I'm already tired for the day. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, there we go. So it would be El Capitan 273 points, Gary Vitek 270 points, Kyle TV 265 points. There we go. I was able to write that aside. So of course that's with our for those who aren't aware, we do have a custom point system. This allows all the drivers to score points from first to last. And so yeah, that would be our standings for the final race. And honestly, Abu Dhabi is going to be really, really fun to watch. I absolutely love that track. Uh, I actually had my first league win on that track. So yeah, so it is going to be definitely a really intense battle in terms of the standings. Might be a little bit too much math for me to do for the constructors. But if anything, for those who aren't aware, we do have our Instagram channel where we post the standings. So make sure you keep an eye on that. That is Elite Raceway on Instagram. But anyways, we are on the closing lap. We do have Garen Vitek still in the lead here in Sector 1. Really, really doing well to stay ahead of El Capitan throughout the whole race. Had pit early and yeah, had a had really good pace today. So El Capitan, he did really well as well. I do wonder what he thought in terms of where he dropped off in the pace right behind of Garen Vitek. He is on blinking red fuel, so I do wonder if he is going to be able to make it all the way to the end. Was probably counting on a safety car this race. But Garen Vitek going around the final corners, Engel at the same time picking up a 3-second penalty here. But anyways, Garen Vitek going to cross the line for his third win in a row. And El Capitan right behind him, securing a second place finish. Mahazne, who had an amazing battle between Oliver Monster and High RPM, still able to secure a third place on the podium. We have Oliver finishing in fourth. Let's see if any changes we have happening in the back. Whole room going a little bit too close to Kovacs, and unfortunately going a little bit wide right there, but looks like more on one. Even with the 3-second penalty, he is going to be able to secure a sixth place. Looks like that is the lap car of Engel, who they were just lapping. Looks like Room is going to have to settle for 8th place. And let's see if we have any movement happening in the back. No, looks like that. Yeah, looks like this is going to be our race results for the Japan grid. So round 11, one more race after this, and man, it's going to be a fun one to watch. And that is our last driver crossing the grid. We'll go over the final race results. Alrighty, so on the podium, as I wait for the. Oh, there we go. Okay. Looks like we have Hulkenbro as our driver of the day. It's a really good drive by him. So on the podium, we do have Garen Vitek for the win, third win in a row. Also picking up an extra 2 points with the fastest lap of 131.1. Sharing the podium, we have El Capitan and Mahasne. And from fourth to all the way to the end, we have Oliver Monster, High RPM, Moron 1, Kovacs, Vroom, Hulkenbro, Honeyburger, Turbo, Brad, who for his first race doing a phenomenal job. I know it's not an easy track, especially with the learning no traction, but doing a phenomenal job to get that car past the line and secure some points. If he's not aware, we do have the point system, as I mentioned before, from first to last, so you still get points even if you finish in 12th. Angle as well in 13th, and our DNFs are Pine and Guardians, and that is our grid for round 11. One more race after this. I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to the race. I'm looking forward to the break. But anyways, everybody, thank you for watching. We do have our Gnosis Division 1 group racing in about an hour and 15. So if you haven't yet, make sure to like and subscribe. You'll be able to get the notification when we're live. And yeah, honestly, thanks to all the drivers who showed up today. Missing a few of the drivers who checked out today, but I'm well aware that it is the second to last race. So as usual, last races tend to be a little bit, I'll show up if maybe I won't. But honestly, yeah, thanks to all the drivers who showed up, and we're looking forward to the last race and to the new season. So more information will come out regarding that. But anyways, thank you. Have a good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you guys are watching from, and we'll catch you guys next race.